Imagine waking up on a Tuesday morning in 2026. You reach for your phone to turn off the alarm, and you see a notification from your news app. The headline simply reads, "Market halted." You tap on it. The S&P 500 is down 20% in pre-market trading. Confusion sets in. You open your brokerage app, but it won't load. A spinning wheel of death is all you see. You decide to drive to work, but as you pull into the gas station, the digital sign flickers and updates before your eyes. Regular unleaded is no longer $3.50. It is $15 a gallon. You freeze. You try to pay at the pump, inserting your card. Declined. You try again. Declined. This isn't a glitch. It isn't a temporary system error. It is the result of a financial weapon that has been secretly engineered for the last decade, specifically designed to dismantle the United States' superpower status in exactly 48 hours. While the mainstream media was distracting you with culture wars, political scandals, and celebrity gossip, a silent alliance was forming in the shadows. A coalition of nations that controls the majority of the world's resources has been building a trapdoor under the U.S. economy. And in 2026, they are planning to pull the lever. Welcome to Heritage Finance. Today, we are not just looking at charts, we are simulating the end of an era. We are going to walk through the exact 48-hour timeline of how the petrodollar dies, exposing the secret Project China and its allies have prepared, and most importantly, we will show you the specific assets you need to hold to ensure you end up on the right side of history. To understand how the dollar dies, we must first understand the magic trick that kept it alive for so long. The year was 1971. America was in trouble. We had spent too much money fighting the Vietnam War, and countries like France were demanding to trade their paper dollars back for American gold. President Richard Nixon had a choice: bankrupt the country or change the rules. He chose to change the rules. On August 15, 1971, he temporarily suspended the convertibility of the dollar into gold. That temporary measure is still in place today. Suddenly, the dollar was backed by nothing but faith and credit. In theory, it should have collapsed right then and there. But it didn't. Why? Because the United States pulled off the greatest geopolitical maneuver in human history. 3 years later, in 1974, Washington struck a deal with the House of Saud. The terms were brutally simple. The United States would provide absolute military protection to the Saudi royal family and sell them any weapon they desired. In exchange, Saudi Arabia, the world's largest oil producer, agreed to price every single barrel of oil in United States dollars. Not gold. Not pounds. Not reals. Only dollars. This was the birth of the petrodollar. The implications of this were staggering. If Italy wanted to buy oil from Kuwait, Italy had to first purchase US dollars to pay for it. If Japan needed energy, they needed dollars. This created an artificial, permanent demand for American currency. Every central bank on earth was forced to hoard dollars just to survive. And what did they do with those dollars? They invested them back into U.S. Treasury bonds. Effectively, the world was forced to finance America's debt. It allowed us to run massive deficits, fund endless wars, and consume more than we produced, all without consequences. We exported our inflation to the rest of the world. It was an exorbitant privilege. But privileges are not rights. And eventually, they are taken away. For 50 years, the system worked. But then, we got arrogant. We began to weaponize the dollar. We used the SWIFT banking system as a tool of foreign policy. If a country disagreed with Washington, we sanctioned them. We froze their assets. We cut them off from the global financial system. The wake-up call for the world came in 2022, when the US and Europe froze over $300 billion of Russian central bank reserves. Regardless of your opinion on the war, the financial message sent to the rest of the world was chilling. The message was, your money is not safe if you keep it in dollars. Leaders in Beijing, New Delhi, Brasilia, and Riyadh watched closely. They realized that if the US could seize Russia's money, they could seize China's money next. The trust was broken. And once trust is broken in a fiat currency system, there is no going back. This fear accelerated Project 2026. While American politicians were debating debt ceilings, China was quietly building an escape route. They knew they couldn't just stop using the dollar overnight, that would hurt them too. They needed to build a parallel system first. A system that could operate completely independently of New York and London. They call it CIPS, the Cross-Border Interbank Payment System. Think of it as the anti-SWIFT. For decades, if a company in Shanghai wanted to buy copper from a mine in Chile, the transaction had to be cleared through an American bank. The U.S. government could see the transaction, track it, and if they wanted, block it. CIPS removes the middleman. It allows banks in Russia, China, Brazil, and the Middle East to message each other directly. But a messaging system is just the plumbing. You still need a currency to send through the pipes. And no one wants to hold the Chinese yuan, because China manipulates its currency just as much as the US does. The world didn't want another fiat currency. They wanted something real. This brings us to the most alarming trend of the last 24 months. Have you noticed who has been buying all the gold? The People's Bank of China has been on a buying spree unlike anything seen since World War II. Official numbers say they are adding tons every month, but experts estimate the real numbers are 10 times higher. They are stripping the London and Swiss vaults clean. Why? They aren't buying it for jewelry. They are buying it for backing. They are preparing to launch a trade settlement unit that is distinct from the yuan and distinct from the dollar. A unit backed by hard assets. The trap is set. The infrastructure is built. The gold is in the vaults. Now, let's simulate how the trigger is pulled. We call this scenario the 48-hour unwind. It is important to understand that currency collapses do not happen linearly. They happen exponentially. As Ernest Hemingway wrote, how did you go bankrupt? 2 ways. Gradually, then suddenly. We have been in the gradual phase for years. Now comes the sudden. Let's role-play the scenario. It begins on a Sunday night. Hour 0, Saudi Arabia makes a press release. It's short, dry, and technical. The Ministry of Energy announces that effective immediately, the kingdom will accept a basket of currencies, including the new BRICS gold note, for all petroleum exports to Asia. They cite payment diversity and modernization as the reason. They do not mention the dollar. They don't have to. Hour 6, Asian markets open. Algorithmic trading bots, which control 80% of global volume, scan the headlines. They instantly recognize the keyword pattern. Saudi, oil, non-dollar. The algorithms trigger a massive sell order on the US dollar index. This isn't emotional, it's mathematical. If the world doesn't need dollars to buy oil, the intrinsic value of the dollar drops by 30 to 40% instantly. Hour 12, the contagion reaches Europe and New York. As foreign central banks realize the Petrodollar pact is broken, they rush to dump their US Treasury bonds before they become worthless. This creates a fire sale on US debt. When everyone sells bonds, interest rates skyrocket. In our simulation, the yield on the 10-year Treasury spikes from 4.5% to 8% in a single morning. Hour 24, the real economy hits a wall. With interest rates spiking, the U.S. mortgage market freezes. Banks stop lending completely because they don't know what money is worth. Credit cards stop working. The derivatives market, a quadrillion-dollar bubble of bets, begins to unravel. The Federal Reserve calls an emergency meeting. Hour 48, import prices explode. You have to remember, the United States doesn't manufacture much anymore. We import our clothes, our electronics, our car parts, and our medicine. We pay for them with strong dollars. When the dollar crashes, the price of a pair of shoes from Vietnam doesn't go up by 10%, it triples. Hyperinflationary panic sets in. The Federal Reserve has only one option left: print. They will print trillions of dollars to buy their own debt, trying to save the system. But this time, printing more money is like throwing gasoline on a fire. You might be sitting there thinking, this is fear-mongering. This is America. We are too big to fail. That is exactly what the British thought in 1920. The pound sterling was the king of currencies. It ruled the waves. Yet, within 20 years, the British Empire was bankrupt, and the dollar took over. Go back further. The Romans thought their denarius would last forever. But when they started debasing their coins, mixing copper with silver to pay for their armies, inflation destroyed the empire from within. At Heritage Finance, we do not believe in crystal balls. We believe in patterns. The cycle of empire is always the same. It starts with sound money. It moves to expansion and glory. Then comes the debt. Then comes the currency debasement. And finally, the collapse. We are mathematically at the end of the cycle. The math does not care about American exceptionalism. So, is this the end of the world? No. The sun will rise the next day. People will still go to work. But the rules of wealth will have changed overnight. The transfer of wealth in 2026 won't be from the poor to the rich. It will be from those who hold currency to those who hold assets. In a currency collapse, paper money returns to its intrinsic value, zero. But real assets reprice. This is why the billionaires we tracked in our previous video are selling their stocks. They are moving into counterparty risk-free assets. Number 1. Physical gold and silver. These are the only financial assets that are not someone else's liability. Number 2. Productive land. Farmland, timber, water rights. Things that human beings need to survive regardless of what the currency is called. Number 3. Decentralized assets like Bitcoin, which, like gold, cannot be printed by a central bank. The Project 2026 simulation is not a prediction of doom, it is a call to preparation. The window of opportunity to exit the dollar system and secure real assets is closing. The elites have already made their move. The question is, have you? The clock is ticking. The system is changing. Will you be a victim of history, or a student of it? Make sure you are subscribed to Heritage Finance and have notifications turned on. In our next video, we will be exposing the specific shadow bank that is secretly facilitating these gold purchases for the elites. You do not want to miss that.